So we understand aspect oriented programming will help us to add add-on services like logging or filters kind of stuff, validations, anything that you name which you want to execute before or after or during exception, any failure handling if you want to add. If you have any such scenarios, AOP is going to help you without interrupting your code. You can add on the fly any logic on your code. That's a great advantage. In OOPS, that is impossible. In OOPS, that is impossible. Always you need to extend your class, and there you will be getting a reusable code. That too, you can't get a code within your method. You can't get a code within your method. Here also, inside method, it is not going to put your code, but the behavior looks similar. Whichever code you write inside here before or after or during exceptions, the similar behavior it will provide when you implement using before or after or using method interceptor and all. We understand here who is doing that job, who is mixing this advices job with your business proxy factory bin. Okay, proxy factory bin is going to help us here. What it will do, it will mix both your business logic with your advisors. This advisors it will mix it with business, so then finally it will give you a proxy output. So generally while doing implementation, you will auto wire a controller to, I mean inside controller a business, inside business a DAO. So that flow it will not disturb. Whatever proxy object it will create, that is almost a child to this class. Whichever class you mentioned auto wire, for that class, a child class it will generate. So always child classes are okay to inject. So whichever proxy factory bin will generate, that is a child class for actual business class of your bank. So whichever object it produces, that automatically injects into your controller. So you need not to worry that do I need to configure proxy reference key means nothing. Whatever object it is going to generate, that is your bank proxy. That proxy only it will auto wire here. And it will not create any confusions also like my bank class object is there and proxy object also there. Will it confuse here? Which object need to inject means nothing. When you mention a business object or when you mention a business class for any advisors, then it will not consider this business object for auto wiring anywhere. Just it will simply ignore this business class, whichever proxy object it will produce, right? Only that object it will use for auto wiring purpose. Okay, let us see annotations example. Okay, just just download from your side also if you want to check. Okay, so go here. AOP annotation based examples are available. Just get it, extract it. Let me import it. Let me use Eclipse or STS, it is fine. Okay. Just a minute. Yeah, we got it. Importing it. A simple existing project. So here you can see I have a simple bank class. I have few methods here. Deposit method with two inputs variables, account number and amount. If account number is matching with SBI 123, then allowing to deposit existing amount 5,000. For that 5,000, I am adding new amount and returning it. If account number is not matching, throwing exception, account not found. Coming to find balance also, when you give account number, if it is matching, returning the amount. If not, account not found, exception given. Simple methods. Deposit and find balance. Now for these two methods, I want to apply services. Okay. So as I mentioned, instead of implementing with this programmatic interfaces, instead of using the programmatic interfaces, just a minute, yes. Okay. So instead of implementing your advices from these interfaces, you can use alternative annotations. Just you need to put on top of your service these annotations. That's it. Okay. So let's see. Here I added a method public void before or for any number of business classes. As I have only one bank class, two methods, deposit and find balance. For these two methods only, before executing this line number 8 of deposit method or line number 19 of find balance method, before executing it, I want to execute this log. So what you need to do, you have to implement a method with the join point. For all before methods, after methods, you need to use join point as a input variable. What this join point will provide, as this is going to execute before your method. In programmatic approach, we see that in programmatic approach, few variables we are getting. If you implement here programmatic way method before advice, when you override before method for introspection or during runtime to understand which method before this is going to execute, what are all the input arguments, what is the return type to understand it, right? These many variables given. But instead of this many variables, all these will be available from the join point. Join point will provide you all runtime for introspection, your method name or your input arguments. If anything, if you want to understand using this join point, you can understand. So if you verify this join point variable, it is going to provide you such methods, get arguments. So whichever duty the second variable providing will provide by these get arguments. Get method or signature of the method, target object. Okay, lot of for introspection, lot of things given here. Signatures, static part, blah blah blah. But it's okay. So you can use join point also for introspection. And just you need to put at the rate before annotation on top of the service whichever you want to apply for all your classes or for one class. It's up to you. For many classes if you want to apply, in this before annotation you need to put point cut here. This is what we call point cut, means condition. This method I wanted to execute in this condition when before. I want to execute this code before this particular method. What I am trying to say, this logic I want to execute before this method. So this logic will execute before this class, this method. This is a simple expression to say when we put this dot dot, it mentions that it is having multiple variables as inputs, and So this for this deposit method, it is going to apply. In case if you want to apply throughout all the classes, maybe you need to give expression similar to this, so that it will understand inside business package for all the classes you want to apply. As we have only one class, I given simple expression. Same thing after also. I want to execute this logic. This is after, right? After method. After your method. So just given deposit method only. Though my class is having multiple methods, I give an expression for deposit method. So it is not applicable for find balance method. In case if you give expression itself here, bank dot star something, then it is applicable for all the methods. Okay. See. So this logic I want to execute after my deposit method. And here I am using around. So earlier you have join point, but in around we will use proceeding join point. Same thing it will do, extra that what it will do, it is having proceed method to proceed from here to next execution, as it need to execute before and after. Before my deposit method, this logic I want to execute. After my deposit method, I want to execute this logic. This line number 35 job is what? After execution of this, from here it will take your cursor execution from here to your business method. After execution of business method, it will come back with a return value. Then next to these two lines it will execute. Because this is around the method. Before, after, in both the scenarios it will execute. In case if you have any exceptions, you can use at the rate after throwing. But for which method exceptions, it will respond only for deposit method. If there is any exception, if there is any exception in your class, you can override this method. That exception will be transferred here. Okay, let me show you this. Tomorrow I'll show you this exception handling in Spring Boot. Okay, global exceptions handling. I'll show you the same AOP concept only for controller they give it after throwing. For controllers they give it, we will see that a global exception handler, how to handle exceptions also with one end-to-end use case with REST template. So on top of this service class, you need to put at the rate aspect. Then only all these methods logic as advisors, it will mix to your business logic deposit method. If you say deposit method, just plain business logic I have. But along with this business logic, lot of this code is going to add it now. This all code is going to add it to your deposit method. In the given advice structure. If it is during exception, exception method. If it is around, around method. If it is after, after method. If it is before, before method of your deposit, it will execute all these logics. So for this one, what kind of configuration I need to do in XML? Nothing. Just you need to activate aspect J annotations. But in Spring Boot, we need not to do that. When we use the same in Spring Boot, you need not to do anything. Or maybe at the rate aspect, I don't believe you need to do anything in Spring Boot. Apply same thing in Spring Boot. Just mention at the rate service on top of this class. As usual, you can run it. Or else tomorrow we'll apply that as well. Now, this will activate automatic proxy. Earlier we prepared proxy. If you remember, in last session we created a proxy using proxy factory bin. We created proxy using proxy factory bin. It did that mixing job of this add-on services with your business logic. But here you are not doing that. So using Spring, you are asking IOC container, please take care of it. So IOC container, how it will take care? If it find any class with this aspect, it will understand, okay, all these are your advices. Based on your given conditions, it will apply that advices to your business. On the flight will apply. So if you see client now, I'm using a simple application context and getting my bank object, but it is not going to give you plain bank object. I'm trying to getting bank object, but the same bank object it is not going to provide it to you. It will give you bank proxy object. As and when execute this method, bank proxy dot deposit, give valid account number 123 is valid account number, and I want to deposit 5,000. Existing amount 5,000. Total it should give 10,000 output. So it executed my deposit method before service is executed, around the service executed, and actual deposit method executed after service is executed. Finally, I got my output. That's all. Finally, I got this output. If I give wrong account number, we are throwing invalid account exception also. Custom exception we are throwing. Account not valid message we are returning from that. So if I give bad number, it will throw custom exception. So before method executed, after that we got exception. Account number invalid exception. And this is caught by this is this is able to catch this exception or not. Your aspect is A. I believe it is catching. My exception it is showing. Is it able to catch it or not? Account invalid exception it is showing. Whether it is catching it or not, and we should understand. After throwing, we mentioned it here. Okay, my exception. If you see in output, you are seeing my exception message also. So this message you are getting right. That means it is executing. So this is executing. In case if you have any doubt, if you try to run it in debug mode, right? Run it in debug mode. See, as this method inside, you are throwing exception intentionally, right? If I run it in debug mode, proceed next. So account number input is 124 SBI 124 and input amount is 5,000, and this need to match with this account number. Account number should match with this account number. So in this condition anyway it will fail and it will go to else block. So it came to else block. From here it will throw exception, and as and when exception thrown, this after throwing code also executed. So whichever code you put here, that code will execute during after your exception. So any failure logic or during exception, if you want to record something, a message or a notification to users, you may do anything. More than 3 times somebody is trying to put a dummy request or robotics or making continuous calls to create or crash your system. Something you can write here. If you get many exceptions continuously, maybe you can down your system also for some time. Of course, banking systems, if there is any vulnerability, they will make down all the machines to save the database. So during exception, also I can able to handle it. I can able to handle it. It is able to execute that as well. So this all we can apply by using simple annotations. Once again, the annotations are at the rate before to execute logics before your business method, after to execute this logic after your business methods, around to execute logic before join point proceed before your method, after join point proceed after your business method will execute. And one thing you need to remember here, whichever return value you are getting, without disturbing that, you need to return it. Because this is just an interceptor. It need to execute before caller one, controller will call your business. So straight away the request should go to the business and response should go back to the controller. Whichever return value you get here, if you interrupt this, actual output will not receive to controller. So controller will find the problems. So in around method, always you should be careful. Whichever return value you are getting after proceed, you need to return the same. So this is mandatory. Carefully you should take care of it. And in case of exceptions, you can use after throw. So it will throw whenever you throw exception, this method will be executed. Whichever logic you have here to handle exceptions, it will be executed. Okay, I hope this is clear. Once again, we'll apply on end-to-end use case. Okay, tomorrow with complete Spring Boot use case, we'll add it. Let me generate one application. Let me generate one application or more than one application, two applications. Okay, simple applications, and we will apply simple REST calls. Okay, simple REST calls between them. Okay, simple REST calls between them, or else we can create here. So using REST template, service to service communication, I'm going to show you here. Actually, there are many ways to do that in microservices, especially one service to another service if you want to make call. We understand architecture. As per architecture, always we approach to gateway to make the calls. Though you have front-end services or back-end services, when they want to approach each other via gateway only, they should approach. That is the best way as per microservices architecture. We understand why also, right? We understand if I use gateway, it will behave like a common point of access. And whenever backend port number changes or services host changes, anything happen, we need not to worry because gateway generally we will not change it. Even though gateway you change it, that is only one impact on your UI applications. But yeah, let's say you here you have service A and service B. If they want to talk each other directly or via gateway, it's up to you. You know how to add gateway also. So when they want to communicate each other, when they want to talk each other, we can use REST template, web client, or there is another approach is Fin client. Fin client. So there are three ways. Okay, there are three ways. Mostly we use the REST template approach, or Fin client is the easiest approach, and web client also we can use. Okay, so today I'll give you a REST template example. Tomorrow we'll see other two examples also. Let me implement a simple. So if you want Ajax example also, right? You can download here. Simple security examples also given here. You can download. If you want security example, just download it. If you want a front end with the back end example, you can download it. Okay. Data GPA example also you can download. Just download them and run it. Easily you can understand. Let me give you basic example of service to service communication. Akash, you able to see now? Gosh. Okay. Okay, let me create two simple services here. Hi service and hello service. Just to show you basic service to service communication. Okay. So create Spring Starter project or student service. Student service wants to get details from course service. Okay. That is what the use case I'm going to create. Service to service communication. Implement it as a web bus. Yeah, nothing I'm going to use. If you want actuator, you know, right? The use of actuator, you can add it if you want. Dev tools for automatic restarts. Okay, let me create one more service. Student service is available. Course service. Courses service and create. Add actuator if you want. Dev tools. So I have two services here, service to service communication, course service. First, let me create course service. A simple controller I'll write, okay? Simple controller I'll be writing here. Courses controller or course controller. And one simple pose of class I'll create just to give response, okay? Course object. Course details, private, int course ID or string course ID, course name, course fee. Three variables I have. Return. I want to return few courses back to my student service. Okay, I'll be creating here public list of courses I want to return. List of courses I want to return. Get courses list at the rate of rest controller. This is service. So from this service I want to get this data. Courses list. Okay, consider I have list of courses available here. List of courses available here. In constructor I will add them. set course id dot set course name course fee. Like this, consider you have multiple courses. So let me add these two courses to list. Dot add Java Spring. Now I want to return them. So when somebody requests with the get method, get mapping of get courses list. I want to return it. A simple service, okay? Maybe it is running in a port number. Server dot port is equal to 9090, and so it is started localhost 9090 slash get courses list. It is returning the two courses which are available. So from browser I can see okay, but I want to get this data from another service also. From where? From student service. I have student controller here. This student controller want to get courses data. One microservice wants to get another microservice data. So student controller I have here. At the rate rest controller public. So here I want to return students data. Let me have a student object here. Private string student name and private list of courses which are available that I want to get from courses and return here. So the same similar course object I required here. So based on the contract, you need to know that the course object required here and you should create it. Course object. So the list of courses I want to assign to this. But the list of courses I don't have in my system or in my machine. I need to get it from somewhere else. So when somebody requests get the student data, request mapping or get mapping, get student data, I want to return it. Student object, new student dot set name, student dot set courses. But this list of courses not in my machine. I need to get it. How you can get? You need REST template here. Using that REST template, you can make call from all the way from student service to course service, which is already running in port number 9090. From there, from browser, how you are getting the data, right? Same way, the same data you can get it here also. For all that you need is REST template object. So here Spring Boot application is a type of configuration also. So if you need any configuration beans, you can create public REST template, create REST template, return your REST template object, mention at the rate B. At the rate bean will provide you this object wherever you want to auto it. So as I need this here REST template, let me auto wire it. And using this REST template, you can make all the REST calls: get to, post to, put to, delete to, anything. If you observe here, you have all the HTTP methods. Okay. So I will use simple. What method shall we use? Get method, right? Get for entity. I need entity. I need entity string URL. I need to give. Then hmm, let me use this. Get for entity should be fine, right? Yeah, should be fine. Object type. Okay, fine. So here you can give your URL, whichever URL you want to input. HTTP colon double slash localhost colon 9090 slash. What is that? Get the courses list. You can give that path here. So from here it will make a call. Finally, anyway, it will give you object array of the data. You'll be getting that data here. What is the response type? Response entity. Response entity. So using this response entity, you can get body. Basically, courses array it will return to you. Try to typecast list of courses it will return to you. Maybe you can set that list here. To the list and return it. Return your student object, which is having student data and courses data from course server, a different entity that is already running in 9090. What I will do, student service I'll run it in different port. Server dot port is equal to 9191 I will use. Let me run this as well. And now let me get the student data. Get the student data. Cool. Getting no response found. No static resources. Get the student data. Get student data must be returning student object. Okay, it is in 9191. Great. So if you see, student name we mentioned in student service, but courses data, when you look into it, it is not from your student service. This data from where it is coming, the data coming from courses service, right? In case if you add something in courses service logic similar to adding a new course, okay? Let me go to courses controller dynamically, right? If I put one more method, post map create course response entity create course. What we need to use input here? At the rate request to body course object and add that course to list. Finally, return as is your course. Just one more method. Oh, you need to wrap it around the response entity. Okay, accepted or created. Bus. Okay, so using Postman, you can try to put some data here that will continuously available from student service also. Create course. Hmm. Body, course ID. What are all the variable names? Course section. Just a minute, guys. Hello. Course ID, course name fee. Course ID, course name fee. So new course if I add here, course ID is something 154 Hibernate or GPA 4000. It's a number, right? Yeah. If I submit it, it must be created. So it must be created and getting the response back. Now if I refresh here student service side, I can able to see brand new course which I created. How it is getting via REST call. It is making a dynamic call to your course service and the latest data it is getting from the courses service. It means that you need not to have everything together into a single microservice. You can distribute it into multiple microservices. Whenever, wherever required, you can make a calls to get the data, not only getting it. I given a simple example for your understanding. Only select the method. You can explore the remaining methods also. From here, you can create it also. In case from student, if you want to create a course, generally student will not do that as I didn't given that. If there is admin or trainer, microservice. From there, if you want to create data, you can create it like from Postman, how you are creating. From here also, you can introduce new post data, right? So the similar example, one full example we will see on, you know, other two references also. Yesterday we will spend complete time for this, you know, service to service communications. Okay, that we will do tomorrow. We will do full use case and we'll do that. Okay.